Hello, my friends. Zelensky once again confirmed that he will travel to Turkey for negotiations and commented on the current situation.
I just spoke with President Erdoğan of Turkey. It was a substantive conversation. I'm grateful to the president for his support. I confirmed to him Ukraine's readiness for direct and meaningful talks with Putin. Ukraine has always supported diplomacy. I'm ready to be in Turkey, and fortunately, the world still hasn't received a clear response from Russia regarding numerous proposals for a ceasefire. Russian shelling and assaults continue. Moscow has remained silent all day on the proposal for a face-to-face meeting. It's a very strange silence. Regardless, Russia will have to end this war, and the sooner, the better. There's no point in continuing the killing. President Erdogan has expressed full readiness to host the meeting, and it's important that President Trump fully supports the talks. We'd like him to find an opportunity to be in Turkey as well.
Meanwhile, journalists asked Trump when he plans to impose sanctions on Russia for not agreeing to a 30-day ceasefire. But Trump said he hopes it won't come to that. I have a feeling Russia will agree, Trump said when asked whether new sanctions will be introduced against Russia if it doesn't agree to the 30-day truce. He also said he wants to fly in for the negotiations.
Going to take place. I insisted that that meeting take place, and it is taking place. And I think you may have a good result out of the Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. And I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over. I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday. I've got so many meetings, but I was thinking about actually flying over there. There's a possibility of it, I guess, if I think things can happen. But we got to get it done. We got to save 5,000 lives a week. 5,000 lives is really more than that. It's worse than that. And when you see
Maybe he hopes they'll agree to a ceasefire during the first round of talks on the 15th. What do you think? Make sure to write your opinion in the comments. Meanwhile, Erdogan announced that he has already held phone conversations with both Putin and Zelensky to discuss their upcoming negotiations. With President Putin, the head of the Russian state, we had a detailed conversation. We discussed the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has now lasted 3.5 years, and other important matters. And with the President of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky, we just spoke as well. So now, just today remain, and we'll finally learn what Putin's true intentions are. But for now, the war continues, and we begin with the situation on the border. Near the village of Tyotkina, there are no official new assaults by Ukrainian forces reported. However, last night, Russian sources released yet another video, this time showing them bombing their own village with massive fab bombs. At the same time, they claim they are targeting Ukrainian positions. Russian airspace forces are helping to repel a Ukrainian offensive near Tyotkina in the Kursk region. The Smuglanka unit detected a concentration of Ukrainian infantry near Tyotkina, guided the aircraft in, and corrected strikes with FAB 500 and FAB 1,500 guided bombs on Ukrainian forces near the Kursk border. Russian aviation is actively helping to stop the new offensive by the Ukrainians. Clearly, Russian forces aren't able to stop Ukraine's advance with small arms of FPV drones, so they immediately resort to airstrikes using massive bombs, flattening entire villages. This tells us one thing. If Ukraine receives modern fighter jets capable of challenging Russian warplanes, Russia's tactical advantage will quickly disappear. But today, Russia is also rapidly expanding its production of military equipment, so they're not planning to slow down anytime soon. Russia has sharply increased the production of military equipment, according to a chart from The Economist. Since 2022, every defense plant has seen a dramatic rise in activity. The biggest surge comes from the Kazan helicopter plant, with production hitting 951 units. The Perm and Kazan gunpowder plants also stand out, with production climbing to 598 and 329 units respectively. In short, now that Russia has scaled up full military production, we can expect even more aggressive activity on the front. In the Sumy and Kursk directions, the situation remains largely unchanged. Russian activity has decreased slightly in these areas. However, Ukrainian forces continue to hold the edge of the forest and haven't withdrawn from Russian territory. In the Kharkiv direction, Russian forces are showing little activity, and even the number of shelling incidents has gone down for now. Meanwhile, in Vovchansk, fighting continues, but just like before, Russian troops are making no real progress. In the Dvorichne area, Russian forces are only carrying out shelling. Overall, there is no real activity here, no new assaults for the second day in a row, and even FPV drone activity has noticeably decreased. In the Kupiansk direction, things remain quiet for now. There have been no reports of new offensives today, and the front line hasn't changed in the past 24 hours. In the Borova direction, the fighting continues around Boguslavka and Nova Krugliakivka, but it's clear that Russian forces are stuck. They can't make any meaningful progress. Back on November 12th, exactly 6 months ago, they were pushing toward Nova Krugliakivka and fighting for Zaporizhzhia. And now, half a year later, the front line has barely shifted. This clearly signals a total failure in this area, despite being only 15 kilometers away from Borova. They haven't managed to reach it even after all this time. To make any real gains here, they'd need to launch 50 to 70 assaults per day, similar to what they are trying in the Pokrovsk direction. But they simply don't have the resources for that, so the front line remains static. In the Lyman direction, the Russians are attacking Kolodezi, Lipove, Ridkodub, and Druželiubivka. Still, no breakthroughs have been reported despite intense activity. The front line here also remains unchanged. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces are attacking Grigorivka, Bilogorivka, and Verkhnyo-Kamensk. However, activity here remains low. Just a few assaults per day are reported, and all of them have failed. In the Chasiv direction, attacks continue on Novomarkove, and fighting is ongoing in the central part of the city. Russian troops are also trying to advance toward Bila Hora and Deliivka from the Ozaryanivka area, but again, no success. Exactly 1 year ago, Russian forces reached the outskirts of Chasiv Yar, and clashes were recorded near Kurdyumivka, Andriivka, and Ozaryanivka. As we can see, they approached Chasiv Yar 12 months ago and still haven't captured the city. They couldn't even stretch the flanks. This clearly shows that Russia's offensive here has largely failed. That's likely why they've shifted efforts to the Toretsk direction now, hoping to break through to Kostantinivka from the south. In the Toretsk direction. It must be acknowledged Russian forces are seeing more success here. They're indeed making gradual progress. As of today, attacks in Toretsk continue, along with assaults on Dnipropetrovsk and renewed offensives on Stara Mykolaivka. This area is currently the most difficult as Russian troops are already pushing toward Romanivka, and Stara Mykolaivka is slowly being encircled. FPV drones and artillery are hitting the village heavily, but the Ukrainian forces are not retreating. The fighting continues. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russian troops are continuing assaults on Novoalexandrivka, Kotline, Lysivka, Myrolubivka, Yelizavetivka, and are trying to break through to Novopoltavka. The area near the highway is particularly critical, but for now, Ukrainian forces have managed to stop the advance and no new breakthroughs have occurred. However, heavy fighting continues with both sides engaging in intense artillery duels and FPV drone strike. The battle remains very active. In the Kurakhove direction, the situation is becoming increasingly problematic. Russian forces have captured the village of Kotliarivka, advancing approximately 3 kilometers 700 meters. However, the Ukrainian side hasn't yet officially confirmed the loss of the village. The situation has also worsened in the area of Troitsk, where fighting is ongoing for control of the settlement. Most concerning is that Russian troops have now moved dangerously close to Dnipropetrovsk region. In fact, FPV drones operated by Russian forces have already been spotted near Novopavlivka, signaling a further deterioration of the situation. At the same time, Russian forces continue attacking Oleksiivka and storming the village of Bahatyr. While no frontline changes have been recorded here yet, assaults are ongoing and the village is under heavy fire. Russian military bloggers have even shown footage of assaults being carried out on motorcycles. The intensity and desperation of the battle for Bahatyr has reached its peak. The commander of the 36th Motorized Rifle Brigade, Kolvarankov, gave his stormtroopers a senseless order to break into Bahatyr on motorcycles by any means. One soldier apparently tried to jump a trench on his bike to fulfill the command. It didn't work out. He later died in that trench from Ukrainian drone strikes. This clearly illustrates why Russian losses are mounting significantly in the area. In the Velika Novosilka direction, the Russians continue their attempts to storm Vilne Pole, Novopil, and push through near Novosilka. However, the situation here remains stable, all attacks have been successfully repelled, and the front line remains unchanged. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, FPV drone activity remains high. Russian forces continue their efforts to weaken the Ukrainian defense forces, launching a large number of assaults. Today, attacks were reported near Malatokmachka, Mali Sherbaki, and Stepove. However, no changes in the front line were recorded over the past 24 hours. In the Kherson direction, Russian troops continue launching attacks on the river islands and shelling the right bank of the Dnipro River. Despite their efforts, they have achieved no success, and the situation remains unchanged over the past day. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.